Okay, good morning. I want to show you where we are. We're going to start in how soon?
1 minute.
1 minute. So this is where we're allowed to take images of the camp. And if they're having ceremony, we wouldn't be allowed to have those images. That's the solar charging station for cell phones. And that's the entrance over there. If you can see it, you look at the white car and behind it. I don't know how long I'll be online, but here we go. So welcome to Spirit Hour. Spirit Hour has been part of the tradition of, Georgia says we're breaking up. Spirit Hour has been part of the tradition of, is that on the phone, Georgia, or is that on the computer? Facebook Live or cell phone? Because this was never advertised as Instant Teleseminar. We're only doing this by grace. So anyway, Spirit Hour has been part of the tradition of myself and Spirit for 12 years now. So what we're doing right now is we're standing at the big camp. Where we're staying is at the Sacred Stone Camp. And the Sacred Stone Camp is quite small, and no cell phone allowed, no images, no videos, no nothing. Last night was extraordinary because we got to sleep to drums and chanting pretty much all night, and we got to start the morning with coyotes. And last night they had fireworks, and the cows were clearly offended by that. And so we had a combination of cows and fireworks working their way to a musical finale at the crescendo of the fireworks. So I just want to talk a little bit about what it's like to be somewhere where people are actually committed to the sacred, where their being here is a statement of the preciousness of life. The water, if you look at the white line, way, way, way beyond the trees at the distance, that's the Missouri. So we're here. I wanted to come here and I wanted to be here for Spirit Hour because I wanted to be able to talk with people about what it's like to be directly connected to Spirit. As I lay in bed last night and listened to the drums and listened to the chanting and the fervor of one's ability to surrender oneself to Spirit, to be in the fervor and the power and the oneness of surrendering oneself to Spirit. And I thought of when I was in India with Sai Ma and how they chanted all night, and that we forget on the American soil that there are also those that chant all night, that drum, that speak to the privilege and the oneness of being part of a greater system of reality than the one we were born into. So we have a huge wind coming up, and wind is my totem. So how good this is going to be on Instant Teleseminar, I don't know. And how good it's going to be on this. I have to put the phone down because someone's walking by. I can't take pictures of people. There are horses everywhere. If you look down and you see the horses down below, and as you come in, there are two white horses. I'm going to walk over this way away from the... Be right back. going to get where the wind is hitting me straight on. So this is the landscape behind this huge camp that we're in. And what I'd like us to do right now is I'd like us to be in our silence. I'm going to talk. You be in your silence while we navigate the wind and the flags that show people the way, and the Missouri and the bridge that people walk over to get here. So I'd like us to be in the silence and be able to be one with creation, be able to be part of something even though our bodies aren't here. The only reason I brought my body here was because I needed to timestamp it in this rising of the sacred that is happening for humankind across creation. There's two not-for-profit sites that let us do this recording up at their media headquarters. One is sacredstone.org, and the other is indigenous.rising.org. And it reminded us of modern indigents, that wherever we're standing, whatever we're doing, I have to put my phone down now so I don't get people's picture. Wherever we're standing, wherever we're rising, that it's where we're standing. So this is Standing Rock Tribe with 100 other tribes joining it to stand. And they're standing regardless. They're standing regardless of if they get cold this winter, regardless if they've left their jobs to come, regardless of the hardship of being here. And let me say, it's porta potties and no hot water and no showers. So for the meek of heart, this is not the place that you would necessarily feel comfortable being. So our dedication to Spirit Hour, to Not Today, is one of to be where we're standing and operating on behalf of life. You know, people say one raindrop won't make an ocean, but a million raindrops will, a zillion, a trillion. So it's time for us to be that ocean. Every one of us, if we commit to being that raindrop, we commit to being part of a greater whole of which we're a part. We operate as best we can. No great imagery, no great falderall, no assumptions of how it would have to look or how it would have to be. More just where we're standing, and where we're standing on behalf of life. You could say that we would get to be our own sacred stone. So let's just take a breath and drop into the silence of ourselves. I'm going to include all the camps, Warrior Camp, Big Camp, Sacred Stone Camp, and the other camp I don't know the name of. I'm looking out at all the area that they reside. And just be with them. Be one. Add your raindrop. Make an ocean. Take a breath. Imagine campers and lean-tos and tents. Scattered amongst teepees. Imagine horses and corrals. Two white ones meet you as you're crossing the bridge. Imagine the flags of 100 tribes. These are tribes that could have demonstrated for not being able to get bank loans, to buy property, to raise cows, and other livestock. These are 100 tribes that could have demonstrated at how their land is ill-used. But this 100 tribes came because of the sacredness of water. Indigenous people rising on behalf of the sacred. It's a very important moment in time, what we're going through now. Sorry, I have to keep moving the camera so that I don't get pictures and images of people. But I wanted you to be here. So I think, where are we standing individually? The lady that started this has sent out a hue and cry, expected 40 people, and they have 4,000. Let me switch it to me. Oh, me. Hi. This is me. Hi, people all around me, so I'm having to be responsible for the promise I made not to film anybody that shouldn't be filmed. So where are we standing? Right now, where are you standing? What's sacred for you? Your children? Your life? Your physical life? And what's sacred to you? And what are you willing to rise on behalf of? So we're going to do a roundabout again. With me in the center. I'm going to walk over here because the weather is better. Then I can turn and see what's behind me. There we go. I hope you can hear me. If you can't, just be with the energy. One of the most important parts of spirit is to have some way you identify it. Some way that you can feel the powers and forces that you're part of. Ways that you can feel creation. Ways that you can feel the wonder of creation. This is their Spirit Resistance Radio, 87.9 local. Okay. All right. So we need our spirit, the Great Spirit. We need to know what that is. And the part that's the most interesting to me is I didn't come here to be with the people. There are plenty of people here to be with the people, although I probably will help with breakfast tomorrow morning, since it's a little short in our camp in the morning, since people chant and drum all night. But what I really came for was to be on the land, to be in the water. I went down into the water yesterday, and my boots sank up to my ankles, and I got to take slip my feet out, and with my socks still on, and sit down in the hot mud and be one with the mud. It took me 5 minutes to dig down into the mud and unsuck my shoes out. And then I sat down in the mud, and I took the mud and I washed my arms and my feet and my legs with it so that it would know I was here. It's been probably 40 years I've been building a relationship with the powers of creation. And it would be very good if you all did that too. Hold on, Jackie's going to walk over and ask somebody a question. Will you come talk? Would you ask him? Okay. So we're going to see if we can get somebody online to talk to you about what's going on here. And
Sure.
you ready? This is
I'm
Govinda.
ready. And what exactly are we talking about specifically?
Whatever you want to talk about what's going on here, people want to know. And
What people want to know? Well, I think one of the most interesting things about all this is the village component. And what is village mind? As people, the Cannonball River comes into the Missouri, and there's a vortex in the water, and it creates these cannonballs. That vortex is alive in the land as morphic resonance. Everything around us is memory. And the historic memory that is vitalized by the prayer activates a sensitivity that a lot of people don't have, where prayer is a reality in energy fields. And that energy fields acts as a stabilizing foundation that we all can address or experience and share. It's sort of like leaves of the same tree. We all begin to recognize our treeness as individual leaves and participate in that component. And
I want to say something to you. So in the work we do, we build morphic fields.
Oh,
That's why I'm here. And that's why we're on the call. Is because all of our interest is what happens when we all come together in a shared interest in the kind of magic and the kind of field that's built. And this is what drew me here, is because I could tell the land was strong and powerful.
well, and the work that I do specifically is we've redesigned time itself, or a new way of looking at time. We've taken a 24-hour clock and changed it to 360 degrees. So if you set the clock on a south face wall, the hour hand always points to where the sun is. Now, they used to say the earth is flat and you would fall off of it. But now they tell people that the sun rises. Now, it may seem like semantics, but if the sun rises and sets around you, it amplifies your personal idiosyncrasies and isolates and collapses your self-image. If the sun is stationary, the first thing you realize is that the earth is spinning. You have to find the moon to find your balance. And you realize that my personal idiosyncrasies are also yours, because we become instantly integrated into the consciousness of Gaia, of the earth itself. Now it gets really even more interesting when you realize, when you really know your solar plexus is engaged, connected with the sun.
I did not prompt him. Go ahead.
Then you begin to see your higher mental faculties as being solar, your awareness body, your thought body, your emotional body, and your physicality grounded with the earth itself. That's a really fascinating experience, to realize that you have 5 bodies synchronized by the breath. And as a conspiracy, what is a conspiracy except to breathe together? And I think that's what we're looking at, is the thought, breath together. Environmental. Environ means to surround, mental, the mind. all that surrounds the mind is your environment. And as we integrate our breath with our 5 bodies, synchronized with all living things, Sat Chit Ananda become a reality. Knowledge of existence is absolute bliss. And as we embrace, we become empowered. As we let go, that energy moves through us so that we can participate. The magic of this place is that people are participating, and therefore they become the channel for the light of the morphic field, resonating throughout and looking at how can we make this a better place, and how do we actually, and as that happens, then we get full of love. You know, you only get to keep what you give away. And it's it's an interesting thing to be living in that field, that energy space. We're doing the radio station. Our thought, 87.9, is that community begins with communication, and that we look at how can we integrate the voice, conflict resolution. What is conflict resolution, and what is critical thinking, and how do we recognize our commonality so we can build that foundation? And I think what you're seeing here with over 200 and some tribes and nations is the commonality is water. And if we have to make that the foundation that we all living things need, and we can no longer tolerate the abuse of our water spirit. The women have been going down to the river every morning doing water ceremonies, and it's really essential that we begin to respect each other and the water that is the life force. So I think that's kind of magic that we found the commonality, and that resonated with so many people around the planet. And why it took so long, why we let fracking go on, or the Keystone XL when they were trying to do their thing, that got sort of shut down. The pipelines that all leak, Chevron, Texaco in Ecuador, Ken Saro-Wiwa in Nigeria, the assassination, murder there, the abuse of the planet for profit has been going unchecked. And I think the elders, and I think it's important that it's the traditional elders' strategy that has solidified this response. It's not a protest, it's a protection. The protectors of the water. We're not protesting, we're protecting, because the dominant culture is on its way out. We don't need to protest against them. They are already gone. Its peace is inevitable. And as we move forward and embrace the life force within ourselves and out, then all of this dysfunctional attitudes will become compost. And that's okay. It had its time when it was, and now it's time to let it go. And I think that's the beauty of the recognition of just transitions, wind, solar, and how we actually, maybe flushing 40% of our water down the toilet may no longer be an acceptable behavior pattern. And we need to start looking at how do we deal with our own compost and recognize that there are benefits in utilization of human waste. And maybe we would be a little more particular about what we put in our bodies in the first place. There's a lot to think about how we're going to move forward in, and this is I would say, the breeding ground of the 21st century village, where people aren't afraid to have the conversations and engage each other in, okay, let's get on with the project. It doesn't matter. There are solutions to all the problems that are out there. So it's a wonderful time to integrate with everyone. And so we appreciate the moment and all those people out there that are an intrinsic component of what's happening here, because we are all related in this living being, Gaia, Mother Earth.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it deeply.
You asked me about my
Yeah, your
medallion.
pendant. Yeah, your
So
medallion.
this is from Damanhur, and it's and you wear it to go into spirals. And Damanhur is a temple that was hand dug 15 stories into the ground. And Falco only works with time,
Oh,
and he works with creating environments within which a new timeline can be established here that we create. Not create in linear time, but create in vertical time.
right.
Of so above, so below.
The holographic fractal harmonic.
Yes. And so you wear these in the spirals so that your personal energy isn't involved, but that you become part of these different spirals
Integrated.
that they integrate to be in human beings.
I'll show you the clock real quick since you have
Sure.
the camera.
And while he's doing that, I'm just going to put out there that you can find Spirit Resistance Radio on twitch.tv Standing Rock.
And here is clock that you can actually see in manifestation.
Yeah, hold it.
And if it has a battery in it, it actually works. But it's probably what, 8:30, quarter to 9, something like that.
9, no.
9.
It is 8:56.
Okay. So the idea is you put it on a south face wall, and then the hour hand points to where the sun is, and it tells us how many degrees the earth is rotated. So time is now static in its motion, and it's now everywhere at the same time.
Perfect.
So that we can move into the horizontal, if you will, that fractal harmonic component, and our 5 bodies, because sun is stationary, becomes revealed, and the integration on all those different planes.
The hardest thing I have to do with my people is to get them out of linear time, to get them in be here now, but at an actual level, not as a thought pattern.
Right, exactly.
But at a vibrational
Well, and
truth.
then once the sun becomes stationary in their lives and their solar plexus becomes engaged, the knees will drop a little bit, and you'll feel right through the soles of your feet the connection with the earth itself.
Like the haka.
And then it all becomes real. And no matter when the sun is wherever it is, how that affects your energy field separate. And photonic respiration, the Chinese call it qi. In yoga, you call it prana.
Right.
The scientific essence of cellular communication is called photonic respiration. So you breathe in the light and transform it into the material matter. Carbohydrates, what is a carbohydrate? A carbon molecule glued together with a hydrogen molecule. That glue is sunlight. And when you eat food, you take the carbon and the hydrogen and split it apart. You absorb the light and let go of the carbon and the hydrogen. So it's interesting how everything is integrated with all living things, and I think that's an amazing part of the traditional indigenous values. All my relations is not an abstract. We are in fact extended and component pieces of a synergistic relationship, so it's kind of magic.
Are those for sale?
Yeah, I have a few of these.
You have a given audience. We didn't expect that.
Oh, and just for people's edification, I don't know how much more time you guys got,
good.
but this is a astrolabe. It's probably one of the very first computers made on the planet. On this side, you would hold this to the sun, or there was another little piece there, and it would tell you what time it is. This is all written in Arabic. And then on this side, depending on your latitude, you would have different plates.
Oh my goodness.
Because you would travel at night through the desert. And these little points here are constellations.
Oh, look at that.
The different points are all different
Those of you on the
constellations.
phone, you can watch it on Facebook. Say a sacred
Safe and
space for
sacred.
rest and courage. But for now, you just get to listen.
So the then you, depending on your latitude, you would turn these around to find what stars you did find. Then the rest of them would come in synchronicity. You would know where you are in space place.
Wow.
And this is several thousand years old.
Oh my goodness.
So it's fascinating that knowledge is not necessarily new, but it's not necessarily been utilized. And our understanding of natural cycles going back to traditional values, and what is the importance of ceremony except to revitalize our understanding of these natural cycles so that we can deal with the task at hand.
I teach a syntax, language syntax to put words through. It's based on the golden mean because I was looking for the shortest distance between 2 points to get people's minds, mental minds,
Tesseract.
into the tesseract, exactly. And it's shocking how the simple practices simply realign the brain to be part of the mind of creation. Because I knew we had to get somewhere fast, and I don't like to leave anybody behind if I don't have to.
Well, compost is a good thing. Survival's not for everyone.
It's true.
And I think it's important that we, because sometimes when we go out, there's a story about a Boy Scout. He comes into his camp meeting and he's all beat up, and the scoutmaster says, "Well, what happened to you?" And he says, "Well, I was helping an old lady go across the street." He says, "Well, what happened with that?" "She didn't want to go."
I remember that one. Okay, I have to give you one back. So here's the one back. So 2 monks lived in this ashram. They were not allowed to touch any human beings. And they're walking down the street, and this old woman's on the curb, and she's looking at the water. So the old monk, picks her up and carries her to the other side. A younger monk is crazy. And about 2 blocks away, he says, "We're not supposed to touch anybody. How could you do that?" And he said, "Oh, I left her back at the curb. You're still carrying her."
Yes, exactly.
Very good.
Yeah. So, what is your station here, or your program again?
This is Facebook Live. We have a sacred space for rest and courage that we ask people to come on because I feel that people are very starved, especially in the white race, for their connection to spirit. I take Vision Quest to Ireland for years just to get people back in the land. We don't do anything. We just throw them up in the land, make sure they're fed and watered, and let the land take care of the rest. So, and then I'm a mystic, a seer, and a prophet. So this is part of the prophecy that I've been watching, just like theirs.
The black snake.
Yeah.
And the eagle and the condor, I think, is another component. We're seeing a lot of folks from Abya, South America, as well, integrated into understanding exactly the significance of all this, because prophecy is in manifestation.
It is.
And that's a pretty trippy thing for all the folks in the planet at this moment, that the planet is beginning to resonate with a different frequency. We're moving through a different sector of space. You know, there used to be 12 constellations in the zodiac, but now there are 13. Ophiuchus. Scorpio is, at this point, is only 6-7 days long. So it's interesting to take a look at even our understanding of scientific astrology, astronomy. If you look at in the 50s, astronomy books, you'll see that Ophiuchus is part of it, because you can't do spatial rocket ship configuration things if you don't know where things actually are.
Right. Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is kind of fascinating that they still, what is Ionopsa? Ionopsa is that term between the difference between tropical and sidereal time. Around 285 AD, there was a 30-degree sector, more or less, of the different constellations. But at this point, Virgo's 45 days long, Scorpio's 6 or 7, Ophiuchus occupies that space place, and every sign is at least 15 to 20 days off. Leo begins August 9th and ends on the 14th of September.
That's very interesting. That makes sense of a lot of things I couldn't make sense of, actually.
Well, I think a lot of people recognize the duality, or you know, I feel like A, but I'm still kind of, am I really that, or am I struggling to become what my horoscope says that my potential is?
Right.
Maybe you have completely different potentials.
Yes.
And to recognize from within yourself what you already know to be true.
We have a series of sacred labs. We call them the minders, the creators, and the architects. And it's literally to be in an environment where we can peel off the misalignment that we were once part of and come into this alignment. So it's because I just didn't, you talk about tribe and villages, I just didn't see how we could do it without a common unity, without having a group that's paying attention to something all the time.
Well, it looks like we're going to be paying attention to the helicopter for a moment. But it doesn't look like a recon mission.
I'm going to go.
Yes.
I'm going to go on and finish Spirit Hour.
Okay, we're going to say.
I just really want to thank you.
goodbye.
so
It's
much.
so incredible.
All right.
You have
Later.
no idea how much you aligned.
What's up, Rope?
Okay, let's take a breath. Just take a breath. We have a lot of knowledge coming in. It's actually pretty important now that we actually relearn ourselves in a new paradigm. I'm going to walk up here. So it's getting busy around here. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to be online and without being at risk to get somebody I shouldn't. So I'd like you all to look at the park. I mean, the tribe. I'm still in the conversation you had with me. Honest to God, it's amazing how the power of knowledge is rising everywhere. And I just knew I wanted him on the call. His name's Govinda. And he's been here 24/7 since the beginning. So let's see, what have we gotten from Spirit? We've gotten the power of a village. We've gotten that the solar plexus matters and that we get in direct alignment with the sun in vertical time, not in the linear clock time. That we recognize in the creation exercises that we're creating tesseracts that put us outside of time, where we can create from nothing and be part of what is rising. We've discovered that there's a common unity now, that the sacred can no longer be ignored, and that we want the sacred to rise. Not only the sacred of the water, the air, the fire, the earth, but the sacred within ourselves, our water, our fire, our earth. Our air. But I'm having to change again. Okay. All right. I want to look at the time. I'm going to cut this Spirit Hour short. For those of you that are on a sacred space for rest and courage, please communicate with each other. Please say where you're standing, particularly where you're located in time and space. And thank you. I know it's a short Spirit Hour, but it's interesting. It's as if time has stood still. It's as if we are one with creation and we require no time. Be a tipping point for this to be the end of an era where abuse gains power and the beginning of an era where love gains power in its many, many, many versions of reality. It's me. All right. I love you. Thank you for being with me. thank you for taking care of each other. And Georgia, I know you're on Instant Teleseminar. Will you see if anyone wants to share and let people share? And then those of you on the Facebook Live, please share. After all, we are a tribe, or a tribe of human beings. What could be better than that? Namaste.